Hi everyone, welcome to our lesson, Fractions on a Number Line. It is lesson 8.5. Our Unlock the Problem says, Billy's family is traveling from his house to his grandmother's house. They stop at gas stations when they are 1/4 and 3/4 of the way there. How can you represent those distances on a number line? You can use a number line to show fractions. The length from one whole number to the next whole number represents one whole. The line can be divided into any number of equal parts or lengths. So for the activity, it wants us to locate fractions on the number line. So I've already drawn the number line so far that they have on the sheet. At 0/4, this is Billy's house. At 4/4, or 1/2, is Grandma's house. So step 1, divide the line into 4 equal lengths, or fourths. So what we need to do is divide this into what we can try to make is 4 equal spots. Place 1/4 fraction strips end to end. Step 2, at the end of each strip, draw a mark on the line. Okay, so that's what we did. Count the fourths from 0 to 1 to label the distances. So if this is 0/4, this would be 1/4. This would be 2/4. This would be 3/4. And this would be 4/4. Now, step 4, it wants us to draw a point at 1/4 to represent the distance from 0 to 1/4. So here's 1/4. It says label the point G1. So I'm going to put a G1 right here. Step 5, draw a point at 3/4 to represent the distance from 0 to 3/4 and label the point G2. So for the first activity, we can show that this was the first stop that they made, and this was the second stop that they made. Remember, this one was Billy's house, and this was Grandma's house. So these are the points that they stopped at on their way to Grandma's house. Now, the example, it wants us to complete the number line to name the point. So it says write the fraction that names the point on the number line. If we look, this number line is broken up into 6 equal parts. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. Here's the number line that they have started for us. We have 0, 6, and we have 6, 6. If I draw a quick number line, and this is 0, 6, the next point would be 1, 6. That would be this point right here. Then the next point would be 2, 6. That would be this point right here. Then we would have 3, 6. And that would be this point right here. Then the next one would be 4, 6. And that would be this. Then we would have 5/6, and that would be this section right here. And then the last one is 6/6. Okay, for our example, it wants us to, since it wants us to complete the number line to name the point. I went ahead and I drew the number line. I started at 0/6 and I end at 6/6, just like it has here. Then I went through and I labeled the fractions accordingly. So this first one would be 1/6. Then we would have 2/6. So that's why I wrote it here. Then we would have 3/6. Then we would have 4/6. Then we would have 5/6. And then the last would be 6/6. Now, it wants us to shade the fraction strips to show the location of the point. So does everyone see the point right here? It wants us to shade all of these. So we would shade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. There are 5 out of 6 equal lengths shaded. The shaded length shows 5/6. That's where the dot is. So 5/6 names the point. The share and show. Complete the number line. Draw a point to show 2/3. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make the number line. And this point starts with a 0. And then we have another point, and the final point. How do I know what the denominator is? Well, to find the denominator, I need to figure out how many equal pieces there are. There are 1, 2, 3 equal pieces. So this first one is going to be, so our first one is 0/3. Then we would have 1/3. Then we would have 2/3. And then last we would have 3/3. It wants us to draw a point to show 2/3. So our point would go right here. On your page, the point would go right here. Now it says write the fraction that names the point. So for number 2, we're looking for point A. Well, first, let's see how many equal pieces this is broken up into. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's broke up into 8 equal pieces, so the denominator is 8. So for point A, we have 1/8, 2/8. So point A would be 3/8. So for number 2, we would write 3/8. For number 3, point B, this is 4/8, 5/8. This would be 6/8. And then for number 4, point C would be 7/8. Okay, moving on. For the on your own, it says use fraction strips to help you complete the number line. Then locate and draw a point for the fraction. So for number 5, we know that there are 6 equal parts because the denominator is 6. So if this is 0/6, then we would have 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, and 6/6. The fraction that they want us to mark is 2/6. So we would look, here's 1/6, 2/6, and we would put a mark right here on 2/6. For number 6, we note that this is broken up into 3 equal pieces because the denominator is 3. So we would have 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. The fraction that it wants us to mark is 2/3. So we would put our mark right here. Now, the next part, it wants us to write the fraction that names the point. Well, if we look, the very first fraction is 0/4, and the last fraction is 4/4. So we know that the denominator is going to be 4. So if this is 0/4, then for point C, this would be 1/4. So we would write 1/4 on the line. Point D would be 2/4. So we would write 2/4. And point E would be 3/4. Okay, we are going to do one more problem, and that's going to be number 10. There is a walking trail at the park. 4 laps around the trail is a distance of 1 mile. How many laps does it take to walk 3/4? Well, if we know that 4 laps equals 1 whole mile, we're now looking at 3/4. So it would take 3 laps to make it 3/4 of the mile.